Isn't it interesting to look back to the first time you meet someone, that very first encounter, to see if there are signs of what's to come? The first time I met Peter was when I demanded to sign my name in his junior high yearbook. I was 13, Peter was 15. It was the last day of school. I wrote, "I don't know you, but I hope you have a good life." I have a distinct memory of Peter that day. His expression was perplexed, as if to say, "Who is this pushy seventh grader and why is he bothering me?" Reluctantly, he handed over his notebook, and I wrote out my little phrase I was so proud of. "I don't know you, but I hope you have a good life." Signed, Kevin Smith. After that, school was out for summer, and Peter and I went back to being the complete strangers to each other we'd been before. 2 years later, we found ourselves sitting next to each other in high school German class. By this time, we were both in the thick of adolescence, and we're both a little strange. Peter had this habit of writing the words rats and star, R-A-T-S-S-T-A-R, over and over and over in the margins of his notebook with a Mont Blanc fountain pen. He would be hunched over, his head down. I'd be poking his arm, trying to get his attention. A 10th grader pestering a senior. In some childishly unconscious way, I persisted in believing that we were meant to be friends. And over time, we were. Now, Peter was straight, but this did not prevent me from treating him like my boyfriend. Once, when he was home on summer vacation from college, I organized an elaborate beach picnic for the two of us. I went to 7 stores for the ingredients, spent 3 days making complicated French recipes like pâté de campagne, stole a bottle of wine from the restaurant where I worked. I was only 19, so I couldn't exactly buy it, and drove us to a secluded cove north of Malibu, where I could spread out a checkered blanket, lie casually to one side, and pretend that we were Meryl Streep and Jeremy Irons and the French Lieutenant's Woman. Peter went along with my fussing, in part because he was too inarticulate to complain, and in part because he was, I knew, grateful for the attention. Years passed, and our friendship deepened. And then one evening, my straight friend Peter, as I like to call him, took me to a bar in Hollywood. We were standing around having a drink when a man approached, said hello to us, took Peter in his arms, and proceeded to kiss him passionately on the lips. I was so shocked, so upset. Why hadn't he told me? Someday, I told myself, I'm going to have a conversation with Peter and ask him why he needed to show me who he was by dragging me to a bar and kissing another man, rather than just tell me. "Peter, why didn't you tell me you're gay? I tell you everything. I can see not telling your parents, or your sisters, or your straight friends, or your ex-girlfriends, but me? Why not me? I'm your oldest friend, and I'm gay. Why couldn't you tell me? Peter, please take off that ridiculous hat. I can't see you." "Peter, look up. I'm not in the mood to have this conversation with the top of your head." Getting Peter to meet my eyes was a big theme in the early years of our friendship. The time passed, and we still loved each other. And before long, Peter met Ray, and I met Jeff, and now we were in our 30s, and then we were in our 40s. Whenever Peter would come to Monterey, or I to Los Angeles, we would always see each other, and it was always wonderful. There was something just great about being friends with someone for a long, long time. Peter and I had put a lot of drama behind us, both in our own lives and with each other. And our friendship felt indestructible, as permanent as having a brother. I would never accomplish my adolescent fantasy of marrying Peter, but I was able to look forward to growing old with him in friendship. One day, a few years ago, I was driving home to Big Sur, 3 days after Christmas. Misha the cat was in her carrier on the passenger seat, and they just come from the vet. I was sitting at an intersection in Carmel on Highway 1 listening to Lucinda Williams when suddenly my car was violently rear-ended by another driver. after checking to make sure that Misha was all right, I picked up my cell phone, which at that time I rarely used, turned it on, called 911, and then called my husband. When I turned on the phone, I noticed there was a new message, but with all the turmoil of the accident, I didn't listen to it until the following day. The message had been left by an unfamiliar woman 4 days before Christmas. Now, remember that the accident was 3 days after Christmas. It's an important detail to this story. Please call about Peter Corey, the unfamiliar woman said. So I called. I spoke to Ray. That's when I learned that Peter died on Christmas Day. That's when I learned that he'd been sick. I wish I could tell you why I never told Kevin. There were certainly plenty of opportunities. There was the time we were talking on the phone and I mentioned that I had shingles. I thought maybe Kevin would guess. Shingles is not supposed to be a young person's problem, but Kevin didn't guess. Instead, he launched into one of his spiels about getting acupuncture and getting massages, and I was just not able to tell him that when you have AIDS and you're as sick as I am, it's a little late for acupuncture and massage. Then the wedding invitation came in the mail. I really did want to go. Ray said that I wasn't well enough to travel to Big Sur. Kevin was my oldest friend. I was determined to attend and told him we would. Why couldn't I tell Kevin I was sick? 2 weeks before the wedding, I had to call him and lie that we couldn't come because Ray had a sudden work commitment. I could tell by the way Kevin hung up the phone that he was angry. Not long after that, when things got bad and I was blind and couldn't leave the bed, Ray leaned in close and said, "Peter, you have to tell Kevin. Maybe by not telling him, I thought I would scrape through this without him ever having to know." I couldn't bring myself to visit the cemetery. Once I drove past it, but didn't enter. It created in my mind a new layout of Los Angeles, all those streets and freeways and intersections laid out like a vast body, its veins and vessels and arteries sprawling across the landscape. Peter's grave at the center, a dark telltale heart, only this heart wasn't beating. I did finally visit Peter last year, a few days after Christmas. His ashes are in an urn set into a fountain. The carved lettering on the stone is so pale I had to walk around the fountain several times. His grave marker might as well be invisible. It's as if he didn't want anyone to find it, to find out. When I did find Peter, I stared at the stone words and numbers for a long time. And then I saw there was a mistake. Peter died Christmas Day, 2008. The plaque, 2009. Ray made a mistake when we filled out the form that January. Funny word. Mistake. It's just a mistake. Don't make a federal case out of it. It's not like it's carved in stone, for Pete's sake. For Pete's sake. For Peter's sake, this mistake is carved in stone. But what if it hadn't been a mistake? What if it had been true? What if Peter had had an extra year? What if Ray's friend had called my home phone 4 days before Christmas and not my neglected cell phone? What if I had gone to Los Angeles and seen Peter and touched him and spoken to him? What if instead of missing Peter alive by 4 days, what if there had been a whole year? What might we have said to each other? Do I know you?